So we arrived at our destination, London, at 4 p.m., and we had booked our cab through Blackberry Cars prior to our arrival, which turned out to be quite convenient because we had a cab waiting. We stayed at West Cromwell Hotel. This was in South Kensington, very, very close to Earl's Court. This was the girls' room. That's the only footage I have. We booked a double room for them, and this was the view from their room. Quite beautiful. They lucked out and I think got the better room. The room was simple, but it had all the amenities. The bed was clean. They had a wardrobe in their room, a little one, and this was their toilet. Again, nothing amazing or out of this world, but it worked. And then this was the hotel elevator. This was the funniest part, and we made so much fun of it because it was the tiniest elevator and we'd had to do a group hug. The stairs were really creaky in this hotel. It was basically very old and very, very tiny. Not exactly spelt luxury. And then this was our room, which was like probably one of the worst rooms I've stayed at. This was the view from our room. It was actually a bricked up wall. And then this was the toilet. I don't think I even showered once in this bathroom. I used the girls' bathroom because I hated it. But again, the best thing is that it was an 8-minute walk from Earl's Court, and that was quite convenient. So our first day, we went out for dinner at this place called Thunder Chicken something. The food was actually quite good. We were too jet lagged. All we wanted to do was eat and sleep, and we did that. Then we had day 2. So on day 2, our hotel, actually the good point was that it was a 30-second walk from the bus station as well. So that basically we booked the hotel for the convenience of the location. The girls got to ride on the double-decker bus. So to travel in London, you need Oyster cards, which can be bought at the stations. And we had ours before traveling. We got them through a friend and we just topped them up, but you can easily get them through the station. And we needed 3 cards. I think Alia was free, if I'm not wrong. First stop for the day was breakfast at Brown and Rosie. This restaurant was in South Kensington, and we stopped here to have breakfast. The restaurants that we ate at were not halal certified, so please do your research. If you're comfortable eating vegetarian and food that doesn't have meat in them, good on you. Then we went to our first museum for the day, which was the Science Museum. Now, entry to these museums is free. The only thing that we paid for is entrance to Wonder Lab, which was one of the sections of the museum. This was the part that I think the girls would have really enjoyed, so we put in the effort to get tickets for this. There were quite a few activities for the girls that we enjoyed doing. One was this photographing water droplets, and anyway, different shows and stuff. I'll just share the videos for you guys to check them out.
We might have in space that we don't have on our orrery right now. Planets! Yeah, so we've got other planets, haven't we? Do you know the names of any other planets? Yeah? Yeah, we have Pluto, which is a dwarf planet. It's a very good answer. Do you know anything? Asteroid belts? Another very good answer. Anybody else?
And we just walked around doing activities and taking in as many shows as possible, which were free. You just had to show up at the time, like this rocket show that we attended.
What happens next? Making predictions, okay? You will be using your senses, okay, to make observations, and then from that, you will be making conclusions.
We should try this at home.
Okay, now everyone,
It's a good
look at
feeling.
this, please. Let's go out in space. I know. I believe. Oh, maybe not. Come on. Oh gosh. Oh.
And then there was also this fire crash bang show. This was also quite interesting. The girls learned a lot and really had fun.
And this one is lithium. And if you combine different metals together, this is copper and lithium. I therefore recommend that everyone puts their fingers in their ears. But I'm not too confident about this one, but let's give it a go anyway. Okay. Oh, you've got your air defenders on already, really fantastic. So in a moment when I like this, we're then going to poke into our explosiveness, okay? I'm just going to lower down the lights. There we go. So William, can you hold up 2 hands? And let's put it together. Let's have a final count of 3. 3, 2, 1.
There's also an electricity show. Please be warned, this is gonna get loud.
In 3, 2, 1.
I think you spend most of the time in this museum in the Wonder Lab section because the activities were so much fun. The kids made their own rockets, learned how different shapes affect the height that the rocket reaches. So all of this was actually quite interesting. The girls spent a lot of time in this section and we didn't have much time to explore the rest of the museum because of this periodic table show where they learned about dry ice and then just weird random activities. And then we took in the prime time show where Shanzai got a chance to volunteer.
We are going to set it alight. Here we go.
I'm scared.
Yeah, don't point it at me, point it at them. Cool. I have to do this show next week. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. Wow. Did you see the flash? Okay, isn't that cool? So there you go, there's a bit of flash. And what happens is that's when the magician does their clever trick. Shall we show them a bigger bit? Yes? Yeah, bigger bit. That sounds good. Okay, right, here we go. There we go. 3, 2, 1. Wow. Cool. Okay, so, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, that is how flash cottons work. That is how a magician will do something clever, and when that happens, you make sure you watch their hands, okay? So can you give a round of applause for Cool. Let's just check your fingers. So
If you do have more time than us, you can walk around the rest of the museum and explore it. It is beautiful and it would be very interesting for boys with the cars and the planes, but we did not have much time. We had to check out our next museum, which was the Natural History Museum. Now, this one was also interesting. This part, I think, would attract a lot of kids. It did attract me, especially going into this elevator with the little giant geoid. That was one of the fun parts for all of us, I guess. And then there were the usual sections with the lava and the earthquakes and all of that, which bored the girls. But there was one section where they actually showed what an earthquake feels like, and that really scared Alia. So I think it was, yeah, here as well. And then we went around and looked at some of the diamonds and stuff that were on display. This is how I kept the girls busy, by the way. We started playing a game called Dibs. This is what they were doing. We had to pick Dibs, the best looking stone out of all the stones. And then this is the game that kept the girls busy throughout all the museums that we visited. There were also some stories that Alia Shanzai was really interested in reading. And then we have this child, which was clearly not happy, and I'll tell you why. Okay, we're walking into the creepy crawlies section of the museum, and this is Alia. That's how Alia is. Anu Baba, you just ketu. The architecture of this museum is actually quite beautiful, and you can get some really good shots if there were not so many people around. But just even walking through, I just loved the buildings and the architectures and all the detailings that were in there. That was my favorite part, and I was actually quite impressed. This is the outside of the museum. And then we have day 3, which is probably my best day in London. We took a train and we arrived at our stop, which was Evan and Evans. This is the company through which we booked our Harry Potter tour, because we tried booking through their website and it was sold out completely in the dates that we were visiting. So going through a third party was actually helpful. We went to their office, they picked us up in their bus, and then the bus took us to the studio and it even dropped us back. So that worked out fine. We had a good enough experience with them. They dropped us on time and then we made it to Harry Potter World. This was what we had been waiting for. This was honestly a dream come true. We got our passports and we were all set to explore. Hard time deciding who was more excited, me or the girls. But once we entered, it was actually very, very crowded. There was a small space and too many people were just herded into it. And I thought this is probably what it's going to be like. But luckily, that's not how it turned out. Initially, we just had to go through these lines and in through to the double doors. Once you get past that, it gets slightly better. Again, there were a lot of people, but that's why they were here. Everyone wanted to see this space. And I managed to get in and get some good shots and check out this thing. This was so cool.
In 3, 2, 1.
And as you can see, once the people had cleared out, I managed to get some nice shots of the Great Hall. And that's what I really liked. I'll share the rest of the stories. Have a look through without me talking and check out all the places. We also got to see some behind the scene tricks that they used to create the movie. The girls were not impressed.
But as you guys can see behind the screen, I just look a bit stupid wrapped around a green cloth, standing in front of another green cloth. However, on screen, I'm invisible. Now, the reason this happens is because we
We then entered the Forbidden Forest, and this walk was a tiny bit scary for Alia because Alia is scared of spiders, and yeah, there were a few in here. So walk along, let's check it out. We then went out and made our own howlers. We then walked through the Hogwarts Express. Most of the cabins were closed, so it wasn't that fun. You just walked through the corridor. And yeah, they were locked. And then we went into to see some of the special effects that were also used in the movie. These were also kept in one of the sections. And then my favorite part was walking through Diagon Alley. You couldn't go into any of the shops, it was just a set, but the walkthrough itself was quite fun. And you have to check out this part. This was honestly so cool. Check it out. And that was it. I think we had the best day ever. Must visit if you are in London. And then you'd think we'd be tired and end our day, but nope. The tour company dropped us at the station and we thought we'd explore some more. So we went over to take the girls to M&M World. We thought we'd make the day truly magical for the little ladies and they'd have the time of their lives. So this is where we took them, and yeah, they just went around the shop looking at stuff and were just like a kid in a candy store, I guess.
I know a girl who's tough but sweet. She's so fine, she can't be beat. She's got everything that I desire. Says the summer sun on fire. I want candy. I want candy. I want candy.
And then this tea shop was right across M&M World, so we just dropped by to check it out. I think this would be a real delight for some tea lovers. I personally do not drink tea, but even I was impressed by all the different varieties that they had in here. It was actually a visual treat, and you could just go in there to browse, and the prices were also not too bad. And then just because all these places were really close by and walking distance, we also walked over to Chinatown to just check it out. Again, nothing special. We didn't even get anything to eat from here, I think. But just walking around and checking out the vibe of the place, I think that's what basically travel is all about for me. Discovering places. And you can see I was really happy. This was at Trafalgar Square. And then we walked on to Regent Street again. All of this is really close. You can walk to all these places. So we just walked by. And then we thought that the kids probably haven't been having enough fun for today. So to add more magic to their day, we took them to somewhere else that was really special. I also had a really fun experience on the way. And we saw this group of people walking by. Here you go. That's for you.
From
Pakistan.
Pakistan, that's amazing.
Yeah, thank you. Here you go. That's for you.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Oh, thank
go
you so
for
much.
it. Have a nice day.
I can tell you for you as well.
Oh, that's all right.
No, you get something.
Thank you.
Something, be happy.
Thank you. Thank you. So yes, we ended up taking the kids to Hamleys to make their day more magical, and they were so happy inside. I guess I would have been too if someone took me to Hamleys when I was little. I was quite happy as an adult as well. And then because we wanted to have some fun as well, we saw this really cool ice cream flavor called Black Hawaii. So me and Hamad also ordered some. It was actually quite different and interesting, and we really liked it. And then we walked over to check out Soho as well. The girls were really tired at this point, but we just walked around to have a look at it just to see what it was like. And it was quite pretty. Here's Alia showing me some of her famous tricks. We then ended the day by having dinner at Honest Burgers. This was a small burger joint. The food was really good, and so was the ambience. I really love exploring local cafes and places when we're on holiday. And then just like that, our day came to an end. Day 4. This is the day we decided to check out some of the famous landmarks in London, and ended up taking a wrong train and getting a little bit lost on our way to St. Paul's Cathedral. But all good, walked a little bit, but reached our destination. We got to walk through to this beautiful, beautiful cathedral, and I must say that I was quite impressed. The architecture always impresses me, and this one surely was worth it. We then took the stairs to reach the top of the cathedral. It was quite a narrow staircase, and in some places it was quite difficult to climb as well. Shanze got a bit tired when we reached one of the levels, so she sat down, but me and Alia continued, and we made it all the way to the top, and we were rewarded by amazing views. Even the inside of the staircase was actually quite beautiful and old. I love every single thing that is old. These views were honestly totally and completely worth it. We skipped doing the London Eye, and probably it's because we saw most of London from the top of St. Paul's Cathedral. Me and Alia climbed how many steps?
493 I counted.
493 steps so that we could get this view. This view, ladies and gentlemen, from the top of St. Paul's Cathedral. And this is one very brave girl. This turned out to be a very special moment for the two of us. We then went ahead to our next stop. This was basically our only day where we were out and about in London, and it was raining on and off. But we couldn't do much about it. As hard as it was, we didn't even have an umbrella. But we decided to muster through and do what we could. So we stopped off at the Burrows Market. This was like a fun fair kind of place with lots of food options, food stalls. Always a good idea to come to a place like this with kids because they got what they wanted. And me and Hamad, we explored and came across some really good options actually and found what we wanted. We didn't stay here for long because we had to head to our next destination, which was the Sky Gardens. With the Sky Gardens, the views are spectacular. You reach up the top, the entry is free, but you do need to book your time slot in advance because it gets booked out really early. We booked for this spot 2 months in advance. After that, we headed over to the Tower of London and Tower Bridge. We did not go inside the Tower of London. We just took photos outside and then we got to experience the Tower Bridge open and close. That was fun. And then we just strolled through the area, me being a little bit extra. But then we took a boat ride. This was actually, we paid for it through our Oyster card. So it was just one of the public transport that you can use to cross the Thames River. So we got on the boat. It was a windy day. We sat outside for a bit, but then went inside because yeah, it was quite cold. We then got off at our stop, which was actually to see the Big Ben. This part was actually quite crowded as well, but we managed to see the view and get in a few pictures and videos. There were other parts where you could see the Big Ben from, but we didn't have the time. Basically, what was important was just seeing the place, and we did that. Since by this time our jet lag had subsided a little bit, we decided to check out London at night. We honestly didn't get the chance to see how London looks like at night because we were so jet lagged and the sun would set after 9, so we never made it. But then this day we decided to check out night London and the nightlife. So we walked over to the Soho area and Kingsley Court to have some dinner. The nightlife clearly did not disappoint. Even though it was a weeknight, it was still really fun and happening, and we really enjoyed. And finally, this was our last day in London. We checked out of our hotel in the morning and decided to visit the British Museum before we caught our train. The British Museum was actually quite huge and we couldn't do most of it. We did go through a guided tour. This lady was quite sweet and gave us a tour.
This is why you get these granite columns and marble cladding and the gilt balustrade and the lovely floors, and so fit for a king. Very sadly, the king's books are no longer here. They're only a mile away in the British Library at St Pancras, and you can sit and have your
There was actually a lot to explore in this museum: the Islamic history section, the Asian, South Asian section, and even the Egyptian section. There was so much stuff here that we could see. We tried to go through as much of it as possible in the time that we had, but given the size of this space, we basically couldn't do all of it. This was the Islamic world section. Quite a few artifacts here were really interesting, and I had to stop and read through most of them, and I enjoyed reading their story. And then just like that, it was time to head over to our station. We did stop by at King's Cross Station just to have a look around, and then walked over to St. Pancras Station, which is actually where our train was. We took the Eurostar to Paris, which got delayed by almost 40 minutes. And then while we were in the train, it got delayed again. But overall, the train itself, if it didn't get delayed, was quite comfortable. And that was all of our stay in London. We then headed over to Paris. I hope you really enjoyed watching this vlog. And if you have any questions, drop them in comments. See you in Paris.